Tonight, the chase for the Kaiwu Glass Cup makes its way to iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway as they look to see how things play out tonight in the Real Good Racing League here on Grid Vision. It's the midway point of the season, and we're glad to have you with us tonight. Justin Britz, Brian Britt alongside with Austin John Bishar producing as we get set to go racing from a driver's favorite. Homestead-Miami Speedway, a multi-groove racetrack with its progressive banking expected to put on some intriguing racing tonight, Brian, for 167 laps, 250 miles tonight.
Yeah, definitely a long one. It's a very interesting racetrack as well. Very much a driver's track, I'd say. A driver's mile and a half, if you will. Track temp's 93 degrees, so not too hot. I've seen the Next Gens race here, and I've seen the trucks race here, and I got to say, in both, tire wear was the biggest deal, and I think it's going to be the same way with this Xfinity car. Of course, these guys do have, I do believe, 5 sets of tires that they have to play with. Of course, that does not include the one that, of course, they start with. But I think that's going to be a valued resource tonight, Justin, as well as the fuel window, 42 laps.
Keep an eye on that once more here tonight at Homestead. Lance Ripka, in turn, comes into tonight as the points leader. He's been the king of consistency so far. 5 top 5s in 5 races, coming off a top 3 finish at Las Vegas. Eric Beller, second in the points, gained some ground, but still trails by 20 points to Ripka into the night. Greg Ratliff rounds out the top 3. Travis Rogers, he did a very strong job last time out, to say the very least. 143 laps led of 167, by far his best run. And Thomas Wolf was able to pick up a top 5 points finish in terms of entering tonight, should say, with a 10th place finishing spot at Las Vegas here, Brian.
Yeah, Thomas Wolf, definitely a really good job that last time. Of course, he's been really good on the long run, so we'll see if he qualified here tonight. But yeah, man, I've just been so crazy impressed with what we saw Rogers able to do last week. I mean, he just dominated that race. Haven't seen speed like that from him all season long, or long run speed, I should say. But hopefully we'll be able to replicate that here at Homestead. But this is a place that long run speed is hard to maintain.
As we get all set for tonight's action, and as warm-up comes to a close, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here for Grid Vision. It's a busy week coming up because we have Grid Vision Super Speedways back in action at Talladega Super Speedway. That coverage starts at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time here on Grid Vision. Champion action, it heads to a bit of a different circuit. Let's go to Japan, shall we? As they go there for 9 p.m. And then it's SSRO Truck Series competition from Kansas Speedway at 9 p.m. on Thursday. NIS competition, Martinsville Speedway. Get ready for some bumpers being thrown there. Same to be said Sunday for RGR, as well as the Global Racing League for a doubleheader of action on the Sunday. Just getting into position for tonight's action here, Brian. Final 30 seconds before we get going here. What are you keeping an eye on for tonight when it comes to these drivers this evening? 17 entries on the list.
I mean, I'm keeping an eye on how the handling is going to progress. This is going to be like anything like the Cup car or the truck. I mean, the truck was the most significant when it came to tire wear. This Xfinity car is a monster when it comes to handling, so it does not seem to, I should say monster in a bad way. Like a lot of times monster is a good thing sometimes, but in this car it's a bad thing. This thing drives like a brick, and this is a track you have to have handling at.
Good luck being shared all around in the session because it's time for the drivers to head to the racetrack tonight. 16 drivers taking part in the qualifying session. In total, 14 took times. Greg Ratliff enters tonight as the pole sitter for this race. He looks to lead them to the green for the 3rd time this season alongside Eric Beller. TJ Rogers, coming off a dominant run last time out, the longtime sim racing veteran, starts 3rd. Buckshot Ripka starts off in 4th. Then it's Bernard Person in 5th. Tony Ratliff starts in 6th. And Michael Walker starts alongside, guess who qualified this week? Thomas Wolf. Daniel Blow starts alongside Jason Spear for the top 10, Brian.
Eric Whiting starting in 11th place. Michael Everhart in 12th. Todd Gilly, of course, in 13th. Mike Zakar, new driver here, in 14th. 15th, Mark Schrader. 16th Steven Cigar, so it looks like a family affair here tonight for this Cigar family. 17th George Dibble. Oh, man, that's crazy to see Wolf. He must be listening to our broadcast, and it's like, man, these guys keep talking trash about me. I better qualify.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And what can I say? If he didn't qualify, he'd be starting around 14th, 15th position. Of note, Steven Cigar should say, did take part in practice, but didn't take part in qualifying. As these drivers get taking to the racetrack here tonight, Brian, your keys to win this one.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be about patience on the tires. I think like a lot of tracks, but I think this track is it's even that much more important. I think tire wear has been the most significant thing this week, so I think that's what it's all going to be about. Just trying to maintain your set. Don't burn them up early. Top side is probably going to be a no-no early on. I think you're going to want to stay low as long as you can, and that's going to be the best way, I think, to save tire.
Just about all set to go. Again, one new starter tonight, Mike Cigar. It's Steven Cigar who doesn't make it to tonight's green flag this evening. But the qualifying king of the season so far, half the polls have gone to one driver, Greg Ratliff. Third in the points, he looks to try and get himself to the point at the end of this night. Green flag in hand, we're underway from Homestead.
They file down the front stretch, getting ready to enter turn one, trying to get up to speed. You see Eric Beller kind of side draft a little bit. Greg Ratliff. Ratliff is able to secure the top spot. He sails into 3 and 4, or 1 and 2, better than everybody, and starts to pull away. Let's see if he continues to pull away on this back stretch. This is when the guys are going to start to get up to speed and have that draft.
Already Beller under attack by Rogers. Rogers clearing behind the bottom. That line's been working throughout the week. Below that seam, through 3 and 4 more so. That gets him up to second. The first lap led by Ratliff tonight.
I know a lot of drivers get loosey-goosey down there, but if you're able to maintain it, it definitely is good or better on the tire. Gooder, that's not a word. But yeah, TJ Rogers full of confidence right now, I think, and he's exuding it. We'll see what he's able to do with that confidence. Still side by side, though, for that third place position. Eric Beller and Bernard Person battling it out. Now Person, I do believe last week, struggled very much so on the longer runs. We'll see if he's going to be able to do anything this week.
He ended up finishing 11th in that race, in a race which went no cautions, green flag to checkered. He was as high as the battle for the race lead at one point. He's already up to the third spot in front of Beller. You can already see a bit of a difference in terms of his philosophy here. He is not afraid to send it all the way to the middle of the top. Everybody else wrapping the bottom.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the difference maker. I think he's going to end up burning that equipment up a little bit more. You just want to be patient at this racetrack. This is a track you do not want to play with. And there's not a whole lot of reference points as well to kind of guide you on how you should tackle this track. There's long sweeping corners as well, so it's very hard to know when exactly to get back to the gas. As we see Buckshot Ripka trying to get up to Eric Beller there. I think Beller is probably taking it easy. He knows long run is going to be the important thing. It's just like we saw in the NASCAR race today. As the race for the lead is starting to heat up, TJ Rogers all over Greg Ratliff.
Looking around, it's Rogers. He was the quickest driver all race last time out. He was a 10th quicker than the field on average. You know who was second quickest on the average? Greg Ratliff. These two look to fight it out once again. These drivers traded up towards the front, more so Lance Rupka and Rogers throughout the race. But Greg Ratliff, remember, was able to migrate his way to second by the finish last time on his long run pace.
Yeah, that's definitely curious. I know early in the race last week wasn't as good on the long runs, but I think he got better as the run went on. He's got the clean air, and I think that's going to be a valuable resource as well. I mean, tires are important, but I think that clean air also helps you to save tires in some regard. As we take a look through the roof camera here off this Zurex machine. Looking here, a beautiful Homestead-Miami. Now look at that. Definitely very good line that I think we're seeing Ratliff run. As here comes TJ Rogers to the inside. Not quite able to get there. This is such a difficult place to pass at.
Not able to make the move quite yet. And remember, Rogers talked about he feels comfortable at 1.5 miles such as this to be able to get his rhythm down. Right now, that rhythm, just having the difficulty to move. That's been a constant throughout the leagues and throughout the official races in the week as well, though. It's a hard track to pass for a reason, and drivers love that.
This is a driver's track. So, I mean, TJ Rogers, he's kind of a 1.5-mile specialist. This is a very unique 1.5 miles, a true oval, if you will. So, if Rogers can make this track work and he's good on the whole run, he's going to definitely probably be class in the field as he's still putting a lot of pressure on Greg Ratliff. This is a track that I think it very much behaves, or I should say rewards guys that put pressure on each other. So, I feel like TJ Rogers, if he continues to pressure Ratliff is going to possibly push it into the corner faster than he wants to go.
Right now they're running 33 8s and 9s. Bernard Person in the same boat as well as Beller. Buckshot Ripka a little bit farther back on that respective pace so far. For the most part, though, we've seen quintessential Homestead on iRacing. Dirty Air coming into play so far. Starting his form with the choo-choo train outside of Rogers, who continues to try and send it. This might be the opportunity, forcing the 5 up the track. Rogers to the race lead.
Yeah, that was definitely a great pass there for Rogers. Didn't really have to work too hard for it. He kind of just wrapped the bottom. Greg Ratliff didn't fight too hard as well. He kind of just went up, let him have it. And now we'll see how Ratliff's car handles in the dirty air. That's going to be a big thing here. You talked about how much that is, of course, going to affect these race cars. Well, if you're in the clean air and you go to the dirty, you're going to notice a huge difference. You see Bernard Person as well coming up, starting to draft his way up to Ratliff.
He's slowly closing the gap here. And keep in mind, if you're consistent here, you're able to close that time up. It's more so, again, that battle with the dirty air. It's not really a track that's big on draft unless you're in the trucks.
Yeah, for sure. Dirty, yeah, like you said, I think that's definitely going to be important. As you straightaways, you might see it, guys maybe cut the, I know I've definitely seen it in the trucks. I think that's probably where I've seen it the most at, guys trying to break the draft. But yeah, you probably won't see that too much here in this Xfinity car. One driver I've been noticing that has been trending better on the long run, even though we're only 11 laps in, Eric Beller. Now, this is to be expected. He slowed down earlier in the stint. He kind of gave up some positions early. He's moving forward now. I mean, fastest lap on the track that last time by 34.106 versus the guys ahead of him. He's about a tenth faster.
See that from Beller right now as he tries to chip away at the gap. Right now, 6/10 or so behind. Bernard Person's the quickest out of the top 5 so far. Check that Buckshot Ripka this time in 34.2s. Fall for already half a second here. Already past 10 laps into the race. And keep in mind, when it comes to fuel strategy, we're talking about similar windows, maybe, if not a little bit more comfortable than Las Vegas. We're talking about the projections up to about lap 40 last time, but at 42, realistically speaking, if you're able to go to 42, you basically have a 3-stopper on gas.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of what lends to that that less or more, I'd say, laps that you have available in the tank, probably because of the on and off of the gas pedal here at this place. You don't necessarily, you're not wide open. I mean, you're not wide open a lot anyway in the Xfinity car, but this track definitely behaves a lot like a short track 1.5 miles in a lot of ways. As you see Beller trying to find a way to get by Person. Person kind of threw a little bit of a block. Person getting tight on the exit of 4. Oh, a little bit of an issue there for Beller. Looks like he's going to go back to being solid again. You can tell Person does not want to give this spot up. And track position, I think, is going to be incredibly valuable here, so I can't blame him.
Beller still no place to go in the midst of all this. For the most part, drivers have stayed where they've started so far. Amongst those who have moved ahead, +3, Todd Gilly, your biggest mover, with Daniel Blow tied for that mark. Also, a -5 for Tony Ratliff. Keep in mind, Ratliff is consistently trying to run the wall at times. He was running the wall in 3 and 4, in fact, and he is struggling in the 6.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of these guys probably are influenced by the NASCAR race today as well. They probably watched it and they were like, "Oh, those guys are running the wall. That's probably what I need to be doing." Or the Xfinity car. That's. I mean, it might not be exactly parallel with what the guys are doing in real life. I know that the trend has been the bottom is where to be when it comes to saving tire. Now you can get some monster speed out of the top side for a little bit of time, but it's not a thing you want to continue to do. It's only something you use as a tool in order to get by somebody that's holding you up.
Take a look at Jason Spear, currently holding on to the 9th position. Spear right now running 34.5s, about a tenth off the leader. And he's starting to fall into that trap some drivers pick up on. Let's try the wall, because it might work in the truck, or it's where no one else is running. Here's the downside. It can also chew up your tires more significantly. As a matter of fact, when speaking with some drivers during the week with this car, the main warning was don't go up there, don't fall for it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Has some really fast speed up there, but it is not a thing that is lasting. You will burn your tires slap up. As we see, of course, Person trying to defend this incursion from Eric Beller. Beller trying to take over that third place position. Beller has been a fantastic driver this season, very consistent. Of course, he's had some pit road woes. Hopefully, he's got those cleaned up here tonight. As now TJ Rogers under fire. Greg Ratliff has started to really chase him back down. We talked about Ratliff being really good on the long run last week. I think he's looking like he's going to be good on the long run this week as well, but maybe even a smidge better than Rogers. Is Rogers, did he overextend getting by Ratliff?
That's going to be the big question right here. It's about a quarter of a second difference for the time being, coming up to lap 20 already. Greg Ratliff still keeping things a bit tight. Almost getting a little too early on the gas, though. And that's something I talked about a bit in the past with drivers like Boyd Hogan, for example, the River Speed Lab, for example. If you use too much gas, it can cook the right front.
Yeah, this is definitely a track you do not want to be too jumpy when it comes getting back on the throttle. You want to be very gradual. I think everything about this track is gradual. That's kind of the name of the game at this place. You want to be smooth on your inputs in every input, your gas, your brake. Of course, these guys are probably using a little bit of brake here as we get ready to start lap 21. TJ Rogers right now out front. Of course, last week was able to dominate at Las Vegas. Can he continue this trend? At the moment, Ratliff is about, I do believe, a tenth or a little bit under a tenth faster than Rogers at the moment.
That's the big question mark of how these drivers can make the passes here. Here's a look at some of the interval differences. Right now, Bernard Person starting to lose the ground similar to last time out. He's fallen off a tip. Ripka's matching the leaders still. Beller starting to close up a little bit, but isn't within that close enough band to get within the full distance of the dirty air. It's within half a second where things really get difficult with these cars. You start feeling it even more so by a second.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being the case. I mean, we see that a lot at other tracks as well, to where when you get into about that half a second mark, that's when you start to feel that loss of grip. And this track is all about grip. You have to have handling in order to succeed at this racetrack. And you can see that, Beller trying to see if he could possibly bust that bubble. He's about a half a second back, as well as Ratliff. He is struggling to make the pass here on Rogers. They've been trading back pretty much faster laps there. One driver I'm kind of surprised hasn't moved forward has been Thomas Wolf. Of course, we talked about him qualifying. Last time by, though, he was very fast. He actually was the fastest lap, I do believe, on the racetrack.
Yeah, Wolf right now holding on to the main grouping. Still at the 8th position. He's in a better spot than if he didn't qualify. I'll say that much. But the tough part is he is only matching the pace at most of the race leaders. Although he is starting to get in spots to pick off drivers, he has a chance on Michael Walker here. Now he shows the nose. Walker the second gives a lot of space. This is the pass for 7th.
Yeah, I think Wolf's going to probably be able to make this happen. He's really good on the long run. I got to say, I've been always impressed as we see I think Bernard Person having some issues. He's given a position up to Buckshot Ripka here. Not sure exactly what happened. Maybe Person hit the wall. I'm not exactly sure, but he all of a sudden just might have gotten loose. I know Ripka has taken that position uncontested. Didn't exactly see. I just saw it kind of in the backdrop as we were watching Wolf. As we're going to take a look back and see what happened here to Person.
Bernard Person continuing to drop back. Currently running in 5th. Wow.
Yeah. I knew something happened because I don't think he would have just gave that spot up with the way he raced Beller a little bit ago.
Indeed, with the bit of that slide, that drops him back, and Person is getting very tight. That time he nearly knocked the wall down out of turn 4. Now he's under pressure. Daniel Blow, Thomas Wolf, already right behind him.
Well, once you have something like that happen, it's bound to continue to happen, and especially that sort of a tire slide. I mean, that is going to make those tires not want to behave at all. He's already been abusing them, and I think they're going to start abusing them back here in a second. As you see, of course, Blow trying his best to try to find some way to get around here. The 2 pink cars, you got to love that. Of course, I do believe Daniel Blow, bringing awareness to Breast Cancer Awareness Month here in October. Got to love that.
Been running that so far throughout the month. Coming up to the closing of said month, Blow nearly hit the fender of the 8. He has the run on the high side, though. Can this be one of the first outside passes attempted on the race here? Looks like he can make it if he can get the pinch down.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to do it. And I think Wolf is thinking about going with him. And I think, yeah, there he goes, Daniel Blow. Can he continue? I think he's going to be able to make it, but you see a big run to the inside. 3 wide, possibly. You see Wolf, he's like, I'm going to go all the way to the fence and get by both of you, hopefully. But I don't think it's going to work.
Zipping on by is Wolf. Can he go for the cross? He's thinking about it. He does. Thomas Wolf to the bottom. Daniel Blow misses the bottom. Bernard Person tries to run the top, but not up to the side forces of the outside wall. And in turn, Wolf has a shot to move up a couple spots in the span of a moment. This is for 5th. Wolf just has a lot more grip and confidence, it seems, to stick it on the bottom. Person trying to run the top.
Yeah, really good move there for Wolf. Able to get kind of a 2-for-1 special. Now he's got to get up there to Buckshot Ripka. Curious to see if he maybe overextended and hurt his tires. I know he did run a little bit on the top. But you can do that to kind of build some momentum at this place. He didn't stay up there, so he should be okay. But TJ Rogers and Ratliff starting to just drive away at the moment. Ratliff last time by, one of the fastest, I think the fastest car on the racetrack. Fall off has definitely continued to grow. We're seeing over a second. Now coming up to a second and almost a second and a half here in some drivers.
Still taking a look up to the lead. The pit window about 12 laps away from the estimate to be able to be comfortable in the 3-stop. Greg Ratliff's been trying to apply pressure again, though. Rogers going lower. Ratliff trying to go a touch higher. He's showing the nose. Can he get alongside this time? No.
Yeah, you can tell Ratliff is just better on the long run, but it's going to be very difficult to pass Rogers. Rogers has had this clean air. We'll have to see if if Ratliff can make something happen. I mean, I think these guys are so close on pace right now, and if they continue this way, the battle could be settled on pit road. I think a lot of this is going to be settled on pit road. Oh, excuse me, my voice starting to go away there and crack. But I think this is going to be settled on pit road in a lot of ways because we know Rogers tends to go long as well. Or he tends to usually do outside the box strategy, I should say.
Well, last race, remember, he went about 38 laps or so per stint. It was still comfortable in the end with how things put with the fuel burn at Las Vegas to make it in the end without an extra stop. So far, he's controlled the race and led all but 8 laps since making the pass early on to this one. Of note, we talked about one new starter for tonight, Mike Zakar. Let's give him a quick shout out because right now the 46, while it's running last currently, is keeping it clean in its debut tonight, showing off some of the next-gen gaming console color looks.
And I just do want to mention as well, I think that these guys are right on the edge of being able to make this on a 3-stop. As here comes Rogers. Oh, he's early. Wow. Now this definitely, he's going to probably have to do 4 or 5 stops here with this. I think 4 stops.
Well, this is a lot earlier than I think anybody expected here. Only 33 laps on the stint.
Yeah. Way earlier.
I don't think you can make up that amount of time on an extra stop here.
I mean, the fall off is about a half a second or a second and a half from what we've seen. I don't think that, I think you're right. Especially you got to pay a price when it comes to the pit exit as well. I mean, this is a track that has I do believe, somewhat of an off-access road, which does cost more time than your usual mile and a half. You have to be really careful coming through here, so he's going to lose some time. Definitely. I don't know if this is going to be worthwhile, but he's always outside the box. You gotta respect that about Rogers.
Eric Whiting all of a sudden is also coming in. So a second driver pitting. However, he was running in the teens. And it looks like Greg Ratliff, he continues on. This is the more expected strat for the day. But again, we'll have to see. Rogers is a lap down after the pit stop, but by about a lap and a quarter.
And with how much faster he is, I mean, he's going to be able to unlap himself fairly quickly, of course, but everybody's got to pit anyway.
Look at this. Thomas Wolf, he moves ahead. He's up to a race-high third. Now he passes Buckshot Ripka.
I'm glad he put his, definitely he's looking like he's got the speed to do this. I'm glad that he heard us in the broadcast and that he qualified, because I think he's got a real chance to win this race if he continues to move. I mean, I know he's always usually better than everybody on the long runs.
He's gaining about a couple tenths per lap even with the passes. Bernard Person, for reference, he's losing 2 tenths a lap to the race leader currently. And he just came off the wall the last time by alone. So he continues to run the wall, and he's knocking the wall down as well.
You see all those black marks up there? That means people in the past have done that as well. It's not a surprise here at Homestead. We saw it even today in the real NASCAR race.
There he goes again.
Looks like the car, it's probably not hurting it too bad, but it definitely takes a lot of the speed out. This is going to possibly help Michael Walker make a pass for 6th place.
Person's lucky so far, no fender damage, just all paint scrubs.
And I want to say, look how much faster T.J. Rogers is than the rest of the field. He came back out around where Wolf was, and he has just unlapped himself that fast. I mean, he is just really fast compared to these other guys.
Well, he is running 1.7 seconds quicker than most of the field here. And that's what happens when you put on fresh boots.
Yeah, and that's what could make it worthwhile. I mean, of course, it's going to cost him a lot from one end of pit road to the other, entry and exit. But if he's getting a second or something back with this strategy, I mean, it could pay off. I don't know. I mean, this is such a tire sort of track to where I don't know. This is an interesting strategy. I can't wait to see how this plays out. I love strategies like this. And I think we'll get to see it. Most of the time, this RGR Color Glass Cup Xfinity Series, they run green. So we'll get to see strategies play out.
So we need Gilly and Mike Zakar in. Window is open for the estimated pit stops today. Speaking of stops, there's George Dibble. Dibble at the time running towards the back end of the field tonight of the 94. He started off as one of the first who didn't put up qualifying time.
And I got to agree with our producer. He just mentioned something about this being his favorite paint scheme in all of NASCAR. And I got to agree. I love Billy Elliott. I think I had a die cast of that scheme. And even though George Dibble is not the fastest guy out here, I tell you, he's the prettiest.
Mark Schrader amongst those curling down the pit lane as well. He had gotten up around the top 10 after starting towards the back as well after not qualifying. No troubles on the pit entry. And here come scheduled pit stops. Ratliff and Eric Beller gaining a ton of time on the entry.
Well, just be careful you don't do what Larson did today. Hit those barrels. We saw how violent that can be, but definitely great job to Eric Beller. There's a lot of time to be gained on entry here if you're brave enough. And I think Eric Beller might have cleaned up and learned his lesson a little bit when it came to stops here, because I know we've seen him a lot struggle when it comes to his pit stops.
Bernard Person, I'm not sure what he just did. Did he run out of gas? Because he just let a couple cars go down the pit lane. I think he forgot what the speed limit was. It's 50 miles an hour here. He went 40.
He might have. Very well could have forgotten what the speed limit was. That's going to be costly, and it's going to put him outside the top 10 right now.
Here come the rest of the drivers on the lead lap. Wolf, Blow, Walker, Spear, all in. And this cycles TJ Rogers into the lead on a very different strategy. Right now, a 9-lap difference compared to most of the field here. Craig Ratliff currently in the spot for the net lead. Eric Beller lost some ground after the pit stop cycle. So, with that being said, the pit window comes to a close for the first time tonight. You're watching coverage of RGR and the chase for the Kaiwu Glass Cup here on Grid Vision. We'll be back in just a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Red Fishing for tonight's coverage of the Real Good Racing League. And it's chased for the Kaiwo Glass Cup. It's Fall Main Series here on Grid Vision. Rogers continues to lead. The undercut call, how about this? 12 seconds up over the rest of the field. However, the 10-lap difference is something to think about for later on in this race. Keep in mind, drivers have 5 tire sets in the pits to utilize. He's in range to potentially have to use 4 of them here tonight. Right now, Ratliff on the path for a potential 3-stopper. How things have fared out so far in this one. 8 laps into his respective stint over Beller, Buckshot, Ripka, and Thomas Wolf, the top 5. An interesting way to how things are going here, Brian. Your thoughts so far after the first window, already past lap 50?
I definitely think this has been a very entertaining race. These guys definitely have some different strategies. A lot of guys are on the same page, though, but definitely interested to see how it works out. Of course, Rogers, he showed how much time could be gained with that strategy, but he is losing it every single second. I mean, he's about 10.8, 10.7 seconds away from Greg Ratliff catching him, and lap time-wise, he's about 0.6 slower. But looking at the field right now, Eric Beller, Greg Ratliff, some of the fastest cars on the track at the moment.
Some of the shuffling. Bernard Person also trying to make up some lost time after his struggles at the end of the last run. He looks underneath Walker the second. Slides up, makes one pass. Jason Spears next up. Remember, Bernard Person did lose himself a bit of time on the track because he forgot what the speed limit was, it appears. And now, that's the risk. He's lost at least 4 seconds because of his pit speed blunder.
And now he's battling, I do believe, with his team leader there, Jason Spear. It looks like he's going to make the pass happen, but you can just tell that Person is driving the heck out of that car. I mean, he is not being easy on that machine at all. And I think Spear, of course, being a little bit easier on his equipment here. Of course, Walker as well. So I think Person is going to end up probably suffering because of this. He's going to need to really figure out exactly how the other guys are saving so well and still being as fast as they are.
Communication on the radio with Rogers curling, trying to hold up front. He's already pinned George Dibble lap down. Mike Sakar is the only other lap down so far. There's a chance Michael Everhart falls a lap down soon, though, with how things are going. It's not been Dibble's night, though, with how things are going. 13th in the points entering tonight, still yet to get a top 10. He needs a lot of luck to get that. His best finish was the start of the season at Bristol, where he was one of the few who didn't actually get an incident point that night.
Now, that's saying something when you don't get an incident point at Bristol. But unfortunately, that did not translate to good finishes. And that's what you got to have. I mean, you got to have some good finishes. I mean, we're in the middle of the season. This is when if you didn't have a good first half, you're going to have a strong second. So really, Dibble's going to have to put his nose to the grindstone, figure out exactly what he's been doing wrong. But Greg Ratliff just driving down or cutting down this lead right now on TJ Rogers. 8.7 seconds now, the gap. Now, it is starting to equal out a little bit. Of course, TJ Rogers 34.7 versus Ratliff 34.4, so only 0.3 instead of a half a second.
See on board from the 5. Slowly but surely the gap coming down, expecting that to converge pretty soon here. It has consistently stayed about a 0.3 of difference on the fall off. Now that's going to be the difficult part on all this, though, is where does Rogers cycle by the end of this race? Because I don't think anybody thought about, or at least between us at least, thought someone would say, let's go for the 33-33 onward strategy and use that extra set of tires rather than risking it on the older tires, even though we've seen how comfortable Rogers seemed to be before the pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't slow. Like, I mean, we've seen him before, not be so good on the long run and, of course, that kind of forcing him to pit. But that's not the case here today. No, he was he was just pretty much just a hair slower than I think Ratliff, but he was holding him off. He was definitely holding off Greg Ratliff. And I think this was not a act of desperation from Rogers. I think he came in here with a plan, and I think he does a lot of times. He comes into these races knowing what he's going to do. I mean, you talk about his sim racing career. I mean, he's a long time sim racer. I mean, probably been on iRacing probably longer than any of us. So I think he knows what he's doing. I think this guy seems like he knows what he's doing when it comes to a plan, right?
Mm-hmm. Of note, Eric Beller currently holding on to the third spot. Right now, he's running quicker times than Ratliff. And this is similar to what he did last time out as well. More so what we've seen at Charlotte before that pit stop blunder. Finished fourth at Las Vegas last week.
Well, speaking back to Rogers a little bit, though, you kind of mentioned some of his pedigree. I mean, didn't he do land races with broadcasting and stuff like that? I mean, it's really cool, interesting story.
In the 2000s in Toledo, which used to have a sim racing hub, a sim racing hub to 2003-ish standards. And that was at the height of the NR 2003 community, of course, where you had series like Dirty Mo Posse, you had the starting route for sim racing broadcasting. We've come a long way over the course of 20 years.
It's really cool to hear that he had some part in that. And, so definitely glad to have him in this series. Glad to learn about him, that's for sure. As, of course, he tries to stifle the bleeding here from Greg Ratliff. Ratliff now 6.5 seconds back, as well as Ratliff. And Ratliff's been looking really, really good. I got to give him a lot of credit. He's better than Eric Beller right now, it seems to be. Beller a little bit usually I expect Beller to be the best on the long run, but it does not seem to be as much the case here this evening. Also surprised Wolf. I'm surprised he really got passed back by Buckshot Ripka. I mean, he had passed Ripka earlier. Of course, he's having to navigate around Mike Zakar there. So definitely want to see. I wouldn't sleep on Thomas Wolf, that's for sure. But I'm curious on what the game plan is for him.
Couple seconds back behind Ripka. Keep in mind he passed Ripka before pit stops last cycle. And interestingly enough, it was talked about a little bit amongst the drivers through the week. We mentioned a bit about the Discord, about things like music and people's bands. How about the collection he shared from his father-in-law? Apparently, his father-in-law is a big-time racing collector, where he collects old race cars, including some of Richard Petty's old race cars that he has in storage. Also, in fact, apparently held an annual event today on this Sunday, including some old Model Ts, old pickup trucks, cars of the 1950s, 40s, and 30s. Lots of questions to be said, at the very least, when it comes to having a collection that deep at a place called Bill's Barbecue.
Hey, that's cool, man. Look at some really cool race cars and also eat barbecue. That sounds perfect. So that's really interesting that he's got some old Richard Petty race cars and not even just diecast, right? Real race cars.
We're talking about full-scale race cars.
Wow, that is so cool. Of course, no wonder you could tell where Thomas Wolf probably got his love for racing. That's for sure. As Wolf has been turning some really good laps the last few times. I mean, he didn't seem like he was as fast as Ripka for a second there, but now he has turned up the heat. 34.6 versus Ripka's 34.9, so about 4 or 3/10 faster that last time by.
Still holding on for the time being. Looking back over to Bernard Persson. Jason Spear, his team boss, keeping up with them, same for Walker II. Right now, though, Bernard Persson's pace again has fallen back. Spear is now quicker than his driver.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would be the case, for sure. I'm trying to do math here because it was TJ Rogers with this strategy gained 5 seconds. Now, math-wise, that's not enough. If he was to, with every stop, if he was to kind of gain 5 seconds from the short pit, that's not enough to cover a full pit stop. So I don't think this strategy mathematically is going to work. Just kind of was looking into it, doing a little bit of math. I know that's crazy. Brian Britt doing math? What?
But what can you say? Been that type of racetrack as Rogers continues to hold on to the lead 5+ seconds. Remember, this is the lap he hit last cycle. In fact, he's a lap further than that currently.
He might be doing math himself. He might be like, hey, this is not going to work.
I mean, it makes it difficult, though, when you elect to come in, and there goes a bit of a burp on the throttle. Looks like he's going to extend the run here. So now it becomes the question, when does he elect to pit already? He's down to 100 laps to go here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that first pit stop was spur of the moment. I just don't see Rogers being a spur of the moment type driver to I mean, he was being pressured by Ratliff, so maybe, I mean, we looked a little far into it. Maybe it was just Rogers feeling pressure and decided to go down and try something different, and maybe he's going to stay on, kind of a normal. Oh,
he's
no,
coming
here
this
comes.
time. There he goes. Bit of a slide. And it goes a couple laps further, getting himself some more fuel into the bank. That cycles the lead for now to Greg Ratliff. We'll see where this places him and places him on the strategy in turn in the University of Louisville machine. In turn, though, it's worth mentioning Thomas Wolfe has caught back up to Beller and Ripka. About 2 seconds or so back behind Greg Ratliff. And investigating a little bit more in terms of some of that respect side of things, it's actually an interesting backstory because apparently, when it comes to that, Bill's Barbecue, also known as Bill Ellis Barbecue, was originally a chain of barbecue places in the Carolinas as well as in the Virginias. It was owned by a racing driver that supported competitors in NASCAR and Southern National Motorsports Park. It closed in about 2019. It supported drivers such as Hermie Sadler, Dick Trickle, Greg Sachs, for example, throughout the years. And in turn, used to have several locations as far as up to Richmond. Bill Ellis unfortunately passed away back in 2017 for reference. Now, one of those respective signs, it appears, has found its way to that respective facility that we're talking about here when it comes to Thomas Wolfe's relations here. So in our words, that adds a bit more of the mystique to this quote-unquote father-in-law.
That's definitely curious as we see, I think, Eric Whiting coming to pit road. Why did Eric Beller just come to pit road? He pitted on, I do believe, 28 laps into his stint. Well, that's odd.
And that's going to be interesting here. That decision comes in only at lap 70. Unless the thought is take 2 stops the rest of the way, make it at 40 to go, or rather at 80 to go and 840 to go, or to 20 to go. There's a lot of ways you can put this here. But most people are going with the simple strat of just take at least amount of pit stops. The pit delta in the lane at least is 43 seconds. If you're quick enough, about 38 if you don't mess up the speed limit.
And that's not even including the pit access road. I mean, the access road takes a lot more of the time as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely curious to see these guys kind of playing with the strategy. I love that, though, to see them experimenting. It makes it very interesting for us up here in the booth. I mean, I was talking to Austin Edstrom a little bit earlier today and said, I just love, trying to figure out these strategies and discussing them and seeing how they kind of work out. I mean, love to see these guys experimenting, as I think Ripka's thinking about coming now. It's been somewhat of a universal sign. When you're running that bottom coming out of 4, that's usually a pretty good sign you're coming to pit road.
There it is. Ripka's into the pit lane. Ripka comes in. Only 32 laps. I think drivers have just picked up on a possible strategy here. You have to wonder if they're trying to cut off Rogers here to have a shot to catch up to him depending on what happens here, even with this added stop. At least that's what it's looking like.
No, that's definitely what it's looking like. And I'm surprised because, my math, I guess maybe my math is wrong, but my math is that Rogers' strategy is not going to work. These guys are, of course, out here 150-plus mile an hour. probably don't have the opportunity to really do a whole lot of math. So they probably think, oh man, he's got something figured out. Let's change up the game. But I think Ratliff, he seems like he's holding strong. I think he's realizing that, hey, I don't need to change my strategy here. What I'm doing is going to work. Wolf as well. I think that those are guys are going to be the ones that are committed to their strategy are going to probably be the ones that end up at the top of the pylon at the end of this race.
Now the interval to keep an eye on, 27 seconds back is Rogers to Greg Ratliff currently. So he is gaining time with these undercuts. But remember, he'll eventually lose some of that back. He did pick up a net gain about 5-6 seconds before some of the drivers in the lead pack elected to pit and follow his strategy here. So there's a lot of mathematics going through the minds of some likely here. But now that's going out here, Rogers seems committed to this strat. After all, he's gaining about a second per lap right now to the leader.
No, he's going to gain a lot of time, but he's going to lose it all with having to make an extra stop. I mean, it's just, even though, yeah, look, on paper, it sounds really good. But like I said, that pit access road and, of course, that 40 seconds from one end to the other is just going to be costly for that extra time. So we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely curious to see how it plays out. Of course, we could see a caution that kind of wipes the slate clean. We've seen that in this series before. I mean, cautions are rare, but they do happen. As Greg Ratliff, of course, trying to hold off Eric Beller, who's on the newer tire. Of course, Beller shouldn't have an issue getting his lap back. Also, we see Thomas Wolf. He's about 3.4 seconds back from Ratliff. Ratliff, though, has been overall the best on the long run right now. Of course, he's dealing with lap traffic right now, so a little bit slower that time by.
About to say, though, Thomas Wolf on the 5-lap average is a touch quicker, but the problem is, when it comes to Wolf's case, Ratliff, Greg should say, has been quicker. You're talking about, I would say more so mid-run is the better phrasing, because it's been the run from about lap 10 to about lap 30. Wolf from about this point to the end of the run is quicker, so it almost plateaus a little bit. But it's still, that big difference is why Greg Ratliff has the race lead positioning.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and that makes a lot of sense, considering Ratliff in previous races has never been, I think, the best long run. Middle run, I think, is, like you said, that's a better way to describe it. I think he starts to struggle towards that real late run. But I think he overall, really good pace, as he should be coming to pit road very soon as well. 37 laps into this stint, has probably about 3 or 4 laps left.
If he elects to go up to the 42, it will be 4. So we'll see if he keeps things clean here. Of note, Jason Spear has repassed his driver, Bernard Parson, for the 5th spot as well. And that's in the midst of traffic, and despite Jason Spear nearly knocking the wall down, as Todd Gilly tried to pass on by. Keep in mind, Gilly's also on fresh tires.
Yeah, Gilly, of course, is 1 lap down. We got 11 drivers that are on the lead lap right now. Buckshot Ripka, the first driver a lap down. But this race has been flying right on by. And has no signs of, I don't believe, going any different than green flag. Greg Ratliff right now, 3 seconds. Now Wolf is starting to trend to be better. He's was about a half a tenth better that last time by, a couple hundredths, I should say. So we'll see if he's going to be able to make something happen. Wolf, of course, first time we've seen him really qualify. And we'll see if it's going to pay off.
Of note, George Tibble elected to come down this past time by. He was 41 laps into the stint of 94. Once those lap down, however, in this one. And there's the sign, hand out the window. Ripka now gets the high side. Greg Ratliff. He took a conservative entry last time. He's taken a very conservative one this time.
Yeah, very easy to make a mistake here on pit road. And I think he's wanting to eliminate that possibility as Wolf stays out another lap here.
He's having a hard time keeping the speed limit. He just took until the midway point of the pit lane to get the 50. Thomas Wolf now to the lead.
That could be very costly. I mean, We'll have to see how that kind of plays out. I mean, he's been really, really good overall. Pit road, that can make or break you. That's where the money's made.
Person's in, expecting a whole wave in the next couple laps. Wolf keeps extending. He's got a clean racetrack for now. Also in, Michael Everhart. Ratliff off and away, about a 39-second pit delta. He lost about a second as a result of the issues on pit speed. Daniel Blow also comes on in. He was running as high as second. He now brings in a fellow competitor in Tony Ratliff, who nearly hits the guardrail.
Oh, no. Definitely don't want to do that. I'll tell you, Daniel Blow's looked really good tonight. There's been a lot of guys. I mean, if this other strategy doesn't work, they're going to probably get some good finishes. You know, here comes Thomas Wolf to pit road. Very close to the barrels there.
He nearly pulled a Kurt Busch there, except the tires stayed on the car. Nearly smacked to the pit barrel.
Yeah, definitely very aggressive entry there. So we're going to take a look back. I do believe Ripka with some issues here.
Let's take a look back at Thomas Wolf. That was originally to be Wolf, in fact, as we move back to live action. The 91 is off into the pit lane. No issues on the pit lane. Daniel Blow, black flag.
Oh.
He had an unsafe pit exit. He went into the grass for a bit on the access road. So he'll have to come down in front of your new leader, T.J. Rogers. Of note, Jason Spear is yet to pit. That's why he's in second.
Man, that is a heartbreaker there for Blow. I mean, had a top five, I think. Top five speed easy. Now it is just going to be very difficult for that to be the case unless he sees some sort of caution. And to have to come back down pit road at this place, I would not wish that on anybody. As Rogers, of course, retakes the lead. Beller, he's about 10 seconds back, where Spear, as you mentioned, has yet to pit.
That's a bit of a gain ground from Beller and company. He elected, remember, to go on the response back on Rogers as Jason Spear closes out the pit window here. So just closing in towards lap 100. Already zipping through this one past halfway. TJ Rogers, your current leader, over Eric Beller, Buckshot Ripka. Then it's Greg Ratliff. He's followed by Thomas Wolf. Those unscheduled strategies. We'll take a bit of a break. We come back. More action. You're watching the chase for the Kiowa Class Cup here on Grid Vision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision. More coverage of RGR from Homestead as TJ Rogers continues to lead. The gap right now about 9 seconds over Eric Beller. Then it's Ripka in third. Ratliff and Wolf, the current top five. 17 seconds the difference between those top five cars, though. And what's once again looking to be a green to checker type of night. Just Brent's alongside Brian Britt. And so far, it's continuing to be a calm one. Jason Spears getting his lap back, or wants to at least here. Outside of that, so far no major troubles the past couple runs for Rogers, even on the different strat.
No, I mean, it seems like it's gaining him time, but he's also, I mean, I kind of was curious. Right before we went to commercial, he had about 18 seconds or 17 seconds on Greg Ratliff. By the time we ran that commercial break, he has now lost, I think, 5 seconds. I mean, Greg Ratliff's about 11.5 back from him, so quickly Ratliff's getting that time back. So we kind of talked about it. It was 5 or 6 seconds every run that Rogers was gaining with this strategy on Ratliff. And that seems to be exactly what the case is here. So I just don't think this is mathematically going to add up. And I think also we saw Eric Beller kind of make a decision to change his strategy as a result, as well as Buckshot Ripka. Of course, I do believe Ratliff just got by Ripka just now.
Yes, right now, Ratliff up to the top three as a result of that switch. Remember, is on the least amount of pit stop strategy. Drivers like Beller and Ripka electing to go for an earlier pit stop on the second stint at least. Going to be interesting how the third pit stop plays things up for the end on gas. So they're amongst those keeping close on track, amongst those also keeping close. Different strategies to include Bernard Person, Tony Ratliff grouped together with Eric Whiting as the sandwich of their respective pack as well down the back straightaway. Outside of that, Michael Walker on back laps down here on the circuit. Side by side building up on the other end of the racetrack. Bernard Person has just made a pass on the 13 of Whiting. Keep in mind the 10-lap difference on that tire stint. It's going to be interesting if Person can get up to Tony Ratliff on his recovery from the lost time on his pit snafu earlier.
Yeah, Whiting is struggling really bad right now. 35.7, that's the slowest lap on the track. So he is definitely not liking that set of tires that's on that race car right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, he's only 26 laps on his equipment, so he shouldn't be struggling this bad.
Yeah, right now, for reference, Whiting, 35.7s. He's the slowest car on the racetrack by far. Well, when you lick the stamp and miss your lift point by at least 50 feet like that, that's a good reason.
Yeah, for sure. Probably just overdriving it, causing the tires to wear out prematurely. As we look on board with Whiting. Very fast on the straightaways, for just in general in these Xfinities, but they have to lift and slow down so much through these corners. And that's why I kind of call this the short track mile and a half, because you're having to lift a whole lot and use that brake a whole lot through these corners. Where other mile and a half, you don't have to lift near as much.
Yeah, normally, and tell me if you go the same kind of mindset here at Homestead with the Grand National car. Normally, you would lift by that light right there. We just see it on Ratliff, and not about a full 2 car lengths past it like we just seen Whiting, right?
That's kind of the standard in all the cars, really. I mean, the next gen, that's the standard, kind of that first green light right before the entry to the corner. That's kind of when you start to slow down. But yeah, as we're looking on board with Ratliff, you can kind of see how it should be done, I guess, as he is catching up to Eric Beller. And I do believe, that's Eric Beller. That's going to be for position to get second away. And we were talking to, man, I'll tell you, TJ Rogers had gained 5 seconds with that first stint. The second stint, he's actually lost more than that. He's only got about 7 seconds or 7.5 seconds on Rogers right now, or on Ratliff, I should say. So Ratliff, this run has been eating that time away from Rogers.
But here's the thing, Rogers is just about to his pit lap again, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
At the pit lap last time, it was about 5 seconds. At this mark right now is the 7.5. That's a 2-second difference where Rogers picked up a bit of time. And remember, Ratliff had to close up an additional 4 seconds of time he lost from compared to the first pit stop.
And I think that's confirming that this strategy is not going to work.
And Rogers is committed to it. He's made his bed. He's coming in at lap 102 to 103 now. And he's bringing Todd Gilly with him. So it looks like Todd Gilly has followed his strat. Eric Beller is committed to the strategy now too.
I mean, once you do it, you have to. I mean, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. I mean, so I think they just kind of have to stick with it and hope that something changes, that some sort of, I mean, I hate to say it, a caution or something happens. But I'll tell you, the battle for the lead is going to be interesting very soon, I think. Thomas Wolfe has been really eating into that lead of Greg Ratliff. Of course, last time by, Wolfe was about a half a tenth faster, 1.8 seconds. The gap between those two, I think Wolfe has a real chance to win this race.
He's got a good chance here. He's within 2 seconds of Greg Ratliff. He is chipping away. And Ripka already is into the pit lane. So it's going to be intriguing how it slices again. Right now, Greg Ratliff in the midst of dirty air, though. Daniel Blow is ahead of him. And Blow is amongst those, remember, who had to serve a penalty last time. That's why he's back here.
Yeah, luckily it seems like he only had to serve a drive-through. I don't think he actually had to stop in his box. So that's one good thing about it. I don't think he really had to at least stop. Otherwise, he would be multiple laps down. He is, of course, now just 1 lap down. So, not the greatest thing. I think Blow had a top 5, maybe even a top 3 here with the differences in strategies. He seemed like he was on that least amount of stop strategy. So just heartbreaking. Go ahead.
I was about to say Mike's car is now just pulled out of the race as a few moments ago, so we have at least 1 DNF, 24 laps down, should I actually say. But the other note to also mention in the midst of all that is right now with how things are playing out here, expecting to be a one-stopper on the fuel for those who are able to stretch it ahead here. We are at 61 laps to go right now, and that may be where some of that stint difference thought came into play for some drivers, because in theory, you're talking about a pit stop with about 20-ish to go even at about a 40-lap run. Or rather, I should say, if you go the extra 20 laps, you're inside that window again. But the others have to pit at 20 to go.
Yeah, and Ratliff right now, he is about 23, 24 laps into his stint right now. He can make it, I think, another 8 laps. Oh, I'm sorry, not 8 laps, 18 laps, which is going to put him very on edge when it comes to fuel. So that's another, on the other side of the coin, the least amount of stop strategy might be a little bit of a gamble as well when it comes to fuel. I think they'll be fine. Wolfe, I think, will definitely be fine, considering he waited an extra lap.
So, again, it all takes really the full course of a race for a plan like this to really show itself. Because, and when you see this at, say, what we've seen this at eNASCAR level, and think, why are people trying to say 50 laps at Michigan? You know what the response is? Testing. You know what they had before tonight's race? A 2-hour test session because they wanted drivers to make sure they knew the fuel numbers for tonight.
Oh, I mean,
Thomas whooping the wall.
Oh, no. Looks like he got into some dirty air there with Daniel Blow, and I think that might have tightened the race car up quite a bit. Looks like I don't think he hit hard. I think he's okay.
He did lose about a second, though. He was almost up to Ratliff.
Yeah, man.
But outside of that, you were saying?
I was saying, this series has always kind of prioritized, I think, resource management. I mean, we've kind of seen that ever since the first race we called with these guys. Limited sets of tires. You're not always guaranteed to have enough. You're pretty much going to have exactly what you need. Same thing with fuel. It's going to be really, really tight. Luckily, this series goes green enough that we're able to kind of see how it all plays out. And like you said, they give them that opportunity to kind of do those number crunching before the race and have those long practices. But I think we're definitely lucky that we have the ability to run these races like we do to be able to, how long they go. Because a lot of other leagues, we wouldn't get to see strategies like this unfold. A lot of other leagues, like, oh, wow, it could unfold this way. Oh, caution flag ruined it,
Don't jinx it. I thought you almost said an error one was coming out right now, or one was for a second. It's not. It's not. Don't panic. But right now we're about just 15 laps away from the money lap. Thomas Wolfe right now following in the dirty air of several cars, including Ripka. Pit window about 12, 14 laps away for most of the competitors on the circuit.
Yeah, Wolfe last time by about a tenth faster than Ratliff, so he might be able to catch back up still and recover as he gets by blow.
And I was about to say, with all that, the lap cars seem to be the biggest bane of Wolfe's existence here in this race, because that's been the only times he's really lost time at this part of the run, is when he's been tucked up in dirty air.
No, I think that has definitely been the bane of his existence. And dirty air has been, I think, one of the main factors here tonight. But Wolfe has definitely been faster than Ratliff, I think, on the long runs. He's got, of course, a tire, or one, I think, lap newer tires at the moment. He's going to definitely need to gain, I think, more, though, I think, lap time-wise. Because at the moment, he's only 2 seconds back from Ratliff. I think he's going to need to do better than this. So we'll see. I mean, I'd love to see him rewarded because he qualified and actually win this race. Look at that. Last time by, much different lap times from Ratliff. Ratliff 35.3. Of course, Ratliff's in the Hornet's Nest, I do believe.
Yes, indeed, for the time being. Oh, well, you're calling the Hornet the Rat.
Well, I was actually looking at the wrong person, but I mean, he is in some dirty air. I don't know if that's affecting him or.
Within about a second and a half, not as much as if it was on his bumper.
Yeah, but he was definitely had a lot of. I misspoke, but he definitely had a lot slower of a lap last time by 35.3, 35.2 versus Wolfe. I mean, he's 0.2 faster. Yeah, I was actually looking at TJ Rogers. Rogers is in a Hornet's Nest. That's what I got confused.
Well, that you can argue, yes. He's within 20 seconds of the current leader. And Jason Spear is not necessarily making it easy here. Well, now he does. As well, Eric Whiting is on the same strategy, but is a lap down here, which might not really add too much, but may or may not add to the car is behind me factor.
Yeah, I think he's just been abusing his equipment. I just don't think that even though he might be on the same strategy, he's not executing it as well, I'd say. So this track very much definitely highlights the driver's skill, I'd say. I mean, if I was out here, I'd be doing just as poorly, of course. This is a tough track. This is a driver's track. And that's why, of course, it was the home of the championship, I'd say, for so long.
That's been a big discussion point, obviously, in real-world action for a while now. But it is a track, remember, that did have several remodelings and reconfigurations in the 90s and the early 2000s. Most recent one is far back around 2003. And I know there was so much discussion back then about, should we rotate the championship? Should we change it up? Because does it become with the current rear-wheel format, where if you know how to drive this one track, it creates to where all it matters is knowing how to drive Homestead. But at the same time, it is a track that is known for long runs, is known for different strats, is known for some iconic moments with some of the more recent years, especially, say, the runs of Jimmy Johnson 7 times here as a champion, for example. But the other counterpoint is, the reason it changed in the first place was trying to test it at a different location. And at the same time, you could also argue, a lot of the other tracks that would have been in potential rotation have seen things go the other way compared to 2018 when the change was announced.
I mean, it's definitely very thought-provoking conversation that could be had for sure about that. I mean, if the track hadn't been at Homestead, or if the championship hadn't been at Homestead, would Jimmy Johnson have won as many championships? Same thing goes for Phoenix. I mean, any track. I mean, that's one of the kind of getting into the even more of a should it be a points-based or playoff, chase kind of system. But Thomas Wolfe has definitely been cutting in very hard into that lead. 1.1, almost 1.2 right now is the gap as we look on board through the cockpit camera.
And part of that, I think, comes into play to touch upon that and put a bow on that discussion point is, remember the old Atlanta prior to 1997? It's similar in shape and banking style to this surface here today when you look back at it, Brian. And I think that's why, too, some people like the track so much because that was the championship finale for several years.
And that's a driver's track, yeah.
And prior to that, it was Riverside, a road course in California of all tracks.
That was wow.
Remember, that used to be the championship as far back around the 1980s and actually used to have a date before the Daytona 500 at one point.
That is crazy. I did not know that. You're taking me on a history lesson, that's for sure.
Remember, though, the championship formats were so different back then, and that's also in our argument in terms of championships. And that's why we've seen so many different formats be utilized by different leagues is what championship format is the best to decide a champion, while also making it where you award the most winningest driver while making sure you keep consistency in the argument and conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's also audience, excitement and things like that. So, I mean, this is a whole can of beans that I don't know if we want to get into because, I mean, I just think you're never going to make everybody happy in a lot of regards. I mean, everybody's going to be like, oh, they're going to complain about something. As we see Wolfe has been consistently faster than Ratliff, but something that last time by went a little bit haywire. I think he got a little bit loose off of the corner. I don't know what's going on, but Wolfe is starting to struggle a little bit here. I'm curious if he's going to continue to kind of drive, maybe run down Ratliff as they're coming up, I do believe, very soon to 40 to go. We're now sub 45 laps to go.
Just a couple laps away for the magic number to make it on gas. Wolfe a couple laps away from that said magic number. George Dibble has had to come in this time by, though. He was already a couple laps down in this race. So the window, at least for some, is open. And Dibble, a little bit further in the box, able to get at least on the checks for now. Wolfe, though, is within a second nearly again. He's gaining time at the right time, at least, for this fight. It's going to be down to the money stop, though. It looks like Ratliff is in. Does Wolfe respond? He doesn't.
Oh, this is early. I don't know. Oh, Ratliff going early. This is going to make a big question mark. Can he make it on gas?
I almost wonder if this is the other part of the thought. Can Ratliff make it 43? Some have today, Brian, but not all.
This is going to be interesting. I think he's trying to. If this is not a net, I mean, how much was this run
42.
that he just did? 42. So if this was out of necessity, if he needed to pit here, if he was going to run out of gas, if he didn't go one more lap, then this is curious because this means I don't think he's going to. Oh, here comes Wolfe. He's going to have one more lap to play with. And this might explain why Rogers and all the other drivers were like, you know what? I think we're going to change the strategy up because they knew they couldn't make it. But I think saving one lap is not impossible.
Yeah, it's actually not as hard as some people may think. It's not as simple as just, okay, clutch and coast can give me the lap. It's even as just as much as letting the gas just run the bottom. Just run the bottom. Because running the top would burn more fuel even. Mm-hmm. And trouble pit lane. Bernard Person has spun it.
Oh, man. If that was on the racetrack, that would have easily been a caution. Of course, he is somewhat of a safety hazard right now, but he looks like he gets it spun around no harm, no foul to anybody else. And unfortunately, it's going to harm him for sure, as we're going to take a look back and see exactly what happened here.
Person has not had a good time entering this pit lane today. He had issues getting to the speed limit on one pit stop. He had a decent 1 second, and this time he pops the car into the wall. That's mandatory damage for the gate.
Yeah, he almost hit the water barrels, and I think he was trying to avoid them, and unfortunately hit the inside wall instead. As we see a little bit of an update on the battle for the lead, or the net lead, I should say. Greg Ratliff, of course, exited. And you see Thomas Wolf about 1.3 seconds back. He is on one lap, fresher tires. Can he make something happen here? Now, before, I think he had a 2-second gap. So now 1.3, 1.2. I think that's going to be easy possibly for Wolf to whittle down even more.
Michael Walker Munsell's in. Rogers, keep in mind, go about another 10, about 15 laps, in fact, for his fuel strat. Expect more pit stops, though, coming up. Already Thomas Wolf net second is within 1.3 seconds of Greg Ratliff, at least for that cycling of strats. You also have Beller and Ripka currently on a similar strat to Rogers. So a lot about to consider here in the closing stages. We're within 40 laps to go, though. More pit stops coming up in just a moment. You're watching Grid Vision for coverage of RGR.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to what's become the battle of strategies here. Justin Brent's alongside Brian Britt as we continue our coverage of RGR from Homestead-Miami Speedway, midway point of the season. Right now it's TJ Rogers in the lead, but he and Eric Beller, along with Ripka, have to all pit. Greg Ratliff and Thomas Wolf, they are within 0.6 of each other for their strategies net lead. And all that to be said though, Brian, there's a chance that depending on how things play out here for Rogers, depending on how far back he is, he may also have a shot to close the gap if there's enough time. In other words, there is a lot of different factors. Keep in mind, Rogers is within his number already based on his strategies, and it looks like he wants to come.
Yeah, hands out the window. I think he's coming to pit road right now. Well,
or at
maybe
least
not.
Pretty soon, because he is running that bottom line with traffic. And Eric Whiting just came in this lap. Now, keep in mind, if he goes all the way, there might not be enough time to win this race. That would put him 20. That would put him at 20 laps to close. At 30, there might be a shot.
I don't know. I think the real race definitely is for the win is going to be between Ratliff and Wolf. I just do not think he'd have to. I mean, you got to keep in mind, factor into 38.2 from the pit lane. Of course, not even including the pit exit, the access road. I mean, that's a lot of time he's going to have to make up on those new tires. So we'll see. I mean,
we have the battle for third. It's for the potential win. Thomas Wolf has closed the gap to the 5. Can he make the pass now is the question. He's been able to lead laps on the pit cycles. And now he's been able to find some mid-run pace to fight it out with the 5.
Yeah, he's been better on the longer runs than Ratliff, and now he's turned up the heat. Of course, you can see Ratliff trying to maybe break the draft a little bit there. Kind of enters the corner a little bit more narrow. I don't think that's exactly the play here. I think, he gets really tight out of turn 4. This is going to line up Wolf. Wolf is going to possibly be pouncing on this here.
He's trying the top line. He's not afraid to use some tire wear here to close this gap. He did use the top before. Now he's got the run to try and make the pass down the back straightaway. No move from Ratliff to block. Thomas Wolf looks inside. Beller in front for dirty air. And Beller's trying to pit in front of Wolf.
Whoa.
Wolf forced to check up. TJ Rogers is also in. This is now for the lead.
That is right. This is for, I think, the win here. Coming up, I do believe, to 27 laps to go here.
Coming to 28, in fact, just about here with how things have cycled. 140 laps in the books this time by. Ratliff trying to play the lines. Thomas Wolf now trying to wait a little bit because of that traffic. Expecting no other scheduled pit stops the rest of the way here, though. TJ Rogers has already completed his service, and it's not looking great on the interval. TJ Rogers would need to gain about a full lap to be able to have a shot to battle for this win.
Yeah, definitely don't think that's going to be logical. But he's still going to get a good enough finish. I mean, he's sitting, I do believe, 4th place. I mean, that's still really good. I mean, he's been really consistent coming off of a win last week. I mean, top 5, nothing wrong with that, being consistent. And I love the fact that he's willing to try these strategies. I mean, he's making this race incredibly interesting. By thinking outside the box, you just gotta give him a lot of respect. As of course the battle still rages for this lead, very close on lap times. These guys are essentially hitting the same laps.
And as this plays out, a chance for Ratliff 1-3 here. Tony Ratliff, because of all the different strategies, is currently in 3rd for the race lead. Wolf, he looks to poke it from the bottom. Sliding up to the front straightaway. Looking to line things back up with the bumper. Wolf now takes it topside. He looks to set it up for the backstretch.
That's like Jason Spear, too. I mean, looking to get a good finish because of all the strategies. 5th place. I mean, not bad at all. Michael Walker started at 7th. I think he's up a position up to 6th. As we continue to watch this battle, here comes Wolf to the inside. And he's going to send it in. Oh, he gets a little bit of the apron.
Too much sending to the bottom. Greg Ratliff, though, forced up top. He's not been running the top most of this run. Wolf not going for the side draft. Now he tries to give a little pinch. For the race lead, Thomas Wolf takes it from Greg Ratliff, heading through 1 and 2.
Greg Ratliff, fantastic performance so far here, but Wolf unseating him. And I think this is the best race we've seen with Thomas Wolf all season long. And of course, what's funny is this is the one race he qualified for. Every race we've seen him this season, he has started in the back of the field and has been the best on the long run. I think has driven his way up to the top 5 multiple times. But now that he's qualified, he started in 8th. He's up to the lead, and it has, I think, the best chance to win this race if Greg Ratliff does not mount to charge. You see Eric Beller right behind these guys, a lamp down. Of course, he is on the 4-stop strategy.
He is 1 second quicker to these drivers for the time being, at least. That actually gains a bit of ground for now for Thomas Wolf as a result of Greg Ratliff forced up to the top side. Thomas Wolf has been a bit more comfortable running the wall a bit through 1 and 2. In fact, he runs middle to limit the time loss. But that being said here, you'll have a couple more of those drivers having to do that same thing. Ripka having to do the same, and a couple others throughout this race now. As well, TJ Rogers, 25 seconds back, 21 laps to go at the stripe.
Yeah, this is curious. I mean, TJ Rogers, 33.6 last time by, fastest lap on the race. Well, actually, Buckshot Ripka was faster. But no, Rogers is definitely looking incredibly quick right now.
Oh, well, hold on. What just happened with Wolf? Did he just have an issue going through to the braking lot mark? He had a bit of a blip through the gear.
Well, that's not good. I'm wondering what that signifies.
I think he clutched on an entry by accident or something, Brian, because if you could hear the audio there, something sounded off. I don't think he's doing it this time. Yeah, I'm not sure what he did, but I thought he was going to blow up the motor with how it sounded.
Well, he might have accidentally just hit the clutch. I was thinking if he had hit the clutch, he might have been trying to save fuel. But here comes, looks like I think that is Buckshot Ripka trying to unlap himself here. As well, we were talking about TJ Rogers, of course. He has gotten by Tony Ratliff. He's about a little under a second faster than Greg Ratliff and Wolf here. He's 21.6 seconds back.
That's not enough. He gets within 2 seconds at best based on that rate.
Still very close. This is closer than I thought it was going to be.
Still possible top 3, but he needs a lot to happen for things to go his way. Thomas Wolf now dealing with dirty air for now. Ripka has gotten him back in the lead lap, albeit as a result of the call, he's all the way back in 8th.
Yeah, and the problem with Ripka and of course Beller as well, they decided to do this strategy too late. Like they jumped on TJ's bandwagon a little bit too late. That was the game plan from the beginning from TJ Rogers. Eric Beller and Buckshot kind of just jumped on it, and unfortunately they lost a lot because of that.
About 18 laps to go, coming to 17. Right now, Wolf has the race where it's wanting to go for now. Clean space, he's quicker. Greg Ratliff is losing time overall on the circuit at the right time to close it. And right now, I think this has been something that's been coming with Thomas Wolf. We've talked about it so much because, to be quite frank, he's been the fastest driver long run in the 91, as we've mentioned. And now, with his best starting position all year, he's got a chance to be able to clinch things forward here. But a chance for a big point swing in turn for drivers like Ratliff, who have also been consistent about the top 5, a couple top 5s in a row. He's looking for his 3rd straight, Ratliff is, in fact.
Yeah, Greg has been really, really consistent. Now, going back to Thomas, though, I mean, last season, of course, we started calling this series towards the end of the, I do believe, summer season, if I'm not mistaken, in the next gen that these guys are running. And Wolf was second place in the points. So he's definitely heating up later in the season. It seemed like that was the same thing last season. But hopefully he's a little bit more motivated to possibly come up here and run for this title. As, of course, he's got about 7/10 now on Ratliff. Coming up to 15 to go next time by. TJ Rogers still, of course, cutting into this gap. Now 18.2 seconds between, of course, him and Wolf.
There's the time differential, and that's the problem. Inability is eventually the tires start to equalize a bit, even with the difference in laps, because as the more laps are put in, the slower, of course, you go. Essentially, Rogers would need the lap times of fresh tires to have a true shot, and that's not how tires work.
Yeah, definitely not. I'll tell you what kind of, I think, lost this race for Greg Ratliff. You even talked about it before, how he was too cautious on pit road. He took time getting up to speed. I think that could, if he had not done that, I think he would still be in front of Wolf.
Yeah. I'm very curious, again, how this all goes here with all the closing stages here. Greg Ratliff, though, remember, has been, for the most part, committed to the bottom. Thomas Wolf, remember, has had issues towards the end of some of, or at least the last run. That's going to be the major question mark is, can they prevent mistakes to close this out, or rather, especially when it comes to Wolf? Because before tonight, one of the issues, even at Las Vegas, for example, was the money stop.
Yeah,
tonight,
no, I mean,
is that going to be the case for the final run now?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like, we've seen Wolf a lot of times have really successful runs, but then at the end, like you said, something always usually happens that kind of pulls the rug from underneath Wolf. But I just feel like this is his best chance. I mean, he's in really good space right now. But then again, I don't know. Ratliff last time by maybe not showing his full hand, 34.9 versus Wolf. He was a tenth faster. That's interesting to note. Then he slows down more. He's giving time back. This is interesting. I think maybe Ratliff might be looking at the black box and seeing, hey, I don't have enough gas.
I don't know. He's lost 2/10 this past lap. 11 laps to go that time by at the stripe. Lap 157 underway. Rogers only gets able to get to within 17 seconds of the lead now. His chance for the win likely done. If anything, it's about to get wild for fourth on back because Beller and a couple others are about to catch Tony Ratliff.
I was just getting ready to say, now this is our biggest opportunity for a possible caution because you see Eric Beller riding around, of course, the top side. I do believe that is the 14 of Michael Everhart, who is a lap down. Beller getting ready to get by Ratliff. Ratliff, of course, towards the top of the racetrack. Still, you see Jason Spear not far back. So we're going to see a lot of changes in positions here very shortly.
There's a look from Spear. He's committed to top. Right now, same for Tony Ratliff. Beller now alongside Tony Ratliff for the fourth position. Fresh boots on the inside, older tires on the outside. And there's some of the give and take. Once again, Tony Ratliff gives up fourth. Jason Spear, a 5-lap difference on tires here, also could take away the top 5 here. And that could be taken away on back from Ripka as long as drivers don't spin it.
Yeah, Spear almost did. He got very loose off of turn 2 right there. It looks like he's going to keep it together. I don't know what that was. That was a sudden loose condition there as he tries to get underneath Ratliff. Tony Ratliff there. And it's going to see if he could possibly get up to the top 5. I'll tell you, Jason Spear, in the first half of these races, I think he's been very predictable. He's not been very impressive in the first half of these races, but he always usually, with just determination and persistence, gets a good finish. I mean, we've seen him get 6th places, top 5s. I mean, really like what I see with the 83. He's kind of that slow and steady driver that gets the finishes that he probably doesn't want, but he definitely gets some consistent good finishes.
Did finish top 5 last time out at Las Vegas as well, so a chance to go back-to-back for the first time for his season inside said top 5. Keep in mind, we're coming down to the final 7 laps on the night. Wolf has now broken away by more than a second. And it looks to be comfortable now for the 91. He does have traffic. Mark Schrader in the wall. He also has Michael Walker to lap in front. And now this is the big question. Can he stay out of trouble with these 2 lap cars?
You know, we talk about things, where he has the rug pulled out from underneath him late in these races a lot. Does that happen here as you see the 12? Mark Schrader, of course, being 2 laps down, looks like he's going to get by him no problem. Of course, I do believe Michael Walker probably going to be trying to avoid going a lap down here. As we come 6 laps to go, 5 to go. Next time by, we are a stone throw's distance away from the end of this race.
Oh, Wolf nearly slid up into Walker. Michael Walker lets him go, though. Outside of that, clean space for the time being for Wolf to work with. Coming up to 5 laps to go. Thomas Wolf looking for his first win of the season. Can it stay green for him as he's the fastest car on the racetrack? Of note, Jason Spear has confirmed gotten up to 5th, but Buckshot Ripka has a chance to take away the top 5 with them having less than 5 to go.
Yeah, he's about 3/10 back from Spear right now. Last time by, Ripka was about, I'd say, 300ths faster than Spear. So Spear has a shot to hold him off. He's going to really have to dig deep right now and really just defend. I mean, do not give him any leeway. I mean, I think Spear wants to keep this top 5, thing going here. Of course, the gap now 2/10.
Looking for the move. He lines it up to the inside. Spear commits outside. These drivers have 4 laps to go. Ripka, better grip. Spear trying to get the exit. Able to keep it alongside at least. But with that rotation, we might see Ripka confirm himself to 5th. He does. Better entry. Ripka to 5th.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Spear, but still a good run. I mean, 6th place. Like I said, he's just been he's been having some decent runs. You got to respect that. Definitely, I think some other drivers, I hate to say it, need to learn from his, maybe Bernard Persons. I hate to pick on him, but I think Bernard maybe needs to take a little bit of a page out of Jason Spear's book. Bernard's really, really fast, but unfortunately just does not have the consistency that Spear does. As we come now 2 laps to go here at Homestead.
Only 3 more miles to close it out. Greg Ratliff putting up a final charge within a 1.5 seconds. But as long as Wolf keeps it clean, things look steady for the 91.
We're going to finally get to talk to this 91. I don't think we've had a lot of opportunities to interview him. I think we might get it this time.
George Dibble short on gas. White flag is out. Final time around from Homestead. He's been one of the better drivers on long run all season. And for the first time all season, he elected to qualify. Now, as Greg Ratliff starts to drop back on the final circuit, Wolf looks to close it out. Sometimes track position can really pay off. It pays off for Wolf. Checker flag is out. Thomas Wolf wins his first race of the season at Homestead.
Yeah, what a fantastic performance for the 91. I mean, just the only thing he did wrong was hit the wall a little bit. I mean, he just did a fantastic job. Just incredibly consistent, incredibly fast on the short runs as well. I think Greg Ratliff barely probably made it on gas. He was very much off the pace compared to Wolf. I think that 1 lap at gas made a huge difference.
Ripka did hold on to 5th as well to close out said top 5. Tony Ratliff, last driver of the lead lap. And that closes out the finishers. But it's the 91 who gets it done with his best starting position of the season, and of course, his best finish now as a result. And now, he wrecks the car trying to burn it out.
Yeah, can't take it with you, I guess. I mean, of course, you would save your team money in real life, but these guys are driving digital race cars, or virtual race cars, so not too big of a deal if he breaks it right now.
There was an attempt. That's the bright side. There was an attempt. He's killed the motor. Thomas Wolf, he picked up the victory by 2 seconds over Greg Ratliff. TJ Rogers third. Eric Bauer fourth. Ripka in fifth. Spear finished sixth. The last car on the lead lap was Tony Ratliff in seventh. Michael Walker finished the lap down in eighth. Daniel Blow in ninth. Rounding your top 10, Eric Whiting. He was able to sneak away at top 10.
Todd Gilly, of course, 11th. 12th, Michael Everhart. 13th, Mark Schrader. 14th, George Dibble. 15th, Bernard Person. 16th, Mike Zakar. Of course, Steven Zakar did not start the race here, so that rounds out the 16-car field that we saw here this evening. What a great race it was.
A really good race indeed for Thomas Wolf. He gets his first win of the season. We'll talk with him and the rest of the top 3 in just a moment. You're watching Grid Vision for coverage of RGR. from Homestead. Welcome back to tonight's coverage of RGR and the chase for the Kyle Glass Cup from Homestead. Just for Brian Britt with you, Austin John Bouchard producing as we move into post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. We'll start things off with our discussions. Now with third place, TJ Rogers elected to go with an alternate strategy. TJ, why did you elect to go with an alternate strategy?
Well, I have no idea. Them guys must have extra fuel tanks or something. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Those guys just were great at saving fuel. Longest that we could go was 39 laps, so I didn't have a choice.
Well, funnily enough, somebody told Brian about 10 minutes before the race, 42 was the number.
I have no idea how they were getting 42. I ran two full fuel runs in practice, and the best I could do was 39 laps either time.
Well, in turn tonight, though, once you realized the situation, what was kind of the mindset going through your mind as you had led most of the way outside of that point?
Well, I didn't have a choice. I had to stick with, what was going to get us to the end, and that was stopping, splitting it up evenly throughout the race, and all we could do was just hope for a caution at the end, and then we could have went from there. I think we had the fastest car, but we were apparently too fast, running out of gas.
Any shout outs you want to give before we let you go tonight?
I'd give a shout out to my teammates, Eric Beller and Todd Gilly, and of course you guys for putting this broadcast on each and every week. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much for the time, TJ. That's TJ Rogers coming away third tonight. Second spot tonight, Greg Ratliff getting that position. He led 57 laps tonight. He's with Brian.
Greg, definitely great job for you today. I mean, just a really great performance. What did you need, though? I mean, this is going to be the hard question. What did you need to get to Wolf? I mean, it seemed like were you saving there when you started falling off?
I needed more gas. Plain and simple. It was just, I ran out at the start-finish line, and it was either save a little bit, let him go, finish, probably run out and finish last, or finish second. So it worked out.
So was he just a little bit better at saving gas? Because I mean, he was able to kind of go one lap later than you usually in the stints. Was he just a little bit better, you think, saving?
That's a possibility. Running closer to the front makes you push a little bit harder sometimes, and maybe I don't know. He might have been more behind traffic a little bit more than me, but either way, I'm tickled to death.
Yeah, definitely a great run for you. Very consistent run. This gonna be a good points day for you. Of course, you led, I think, probably the most laps tonight. Of course, next week's going to be Martinsville, much different than this racetrack. You guys have been staying green quite a bit in these races. I don't know if that's going to be the case at Martinsville. How do you picture it?
Well, it's I kind of agree with you. I wouldn't doubt if we don't have possibly one or two. I mean, but I wouldn't rule out all green either.
Wow, that's very optimistic. Usually we, no matter what league you're in, if you go into Martinsville, you're usually going to be 20 cautions. We'll see. I'm hoping you're right, Greg. But who you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh, just everybody in the league. Kyle Glass for sponsoring us and paying you guys, and you guys for doing a good job with your broadcasting, and really enjoy watching them. And just all the guys in the league, Todd, and all the drivers.
All right, Greg. Well, definitely shout out to you, man, for making it very entertaining out there. Definitely one of the fastest cars out there tonight. We'll see you next week at Martinsville.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
That was Greg Ratliff, of course, driver of the 5 Machine. Back to you, Justin.
Well, Thomas Wolfe tonight, he elected to qualify. And that decision in turn, quite in part to him getting his first win of the season. Thomas, first of all, congratulations. How does it feel finally to break through with your first win of the year?
Oh, man, it feels really good. There's a lot of races this season where I kind of just made some bad mistakes, and obviously a lot of races too I didn't get to qualify. And I just wanted to say that is not some sort of strategy or some sort of mind game I'm trying to play. It's just the matter that I can't get into my rig in time to qualify. So there's no big scheme in the back or anything.
I was gonna say, track position usually is very beneficial, but you've had consistency on the long runs all season. When you started to pick up on there's a true shot at this win, what was going through your mind as you were reeling in the 5 for this win?
Yeah, I when I was reeling him in, I started doing the math in my head and I started missing lines. So really I forced myself to focus and just drive the car, and whatever happens. So I think that helped me out in the end.
In turn as well, a busy time as well for you. I'm curious on this. You posted something about classic cars and a father-in-law. I am curious on the backstory on this.
Oh, yep. Just a father-in-law has many close NASCAR connections, and he was able to build out a great collection of awesome cars. And the AACA here in Virginia just had an event today where they all brought out a bunch of really awesome vintage cars, Packards, old T models. So it was just a great event today.
I was curious on some of the backstory in that regard, and I'm very curious on the connection in turn. But in turn, though, Martinsville's next. Your thoughts on the paperclip up next with this car?
Oh, can't wait to make some enemies and bump elbows with my peers. You know, we've been racing clean all season, so I think it's time that we get a little edgy here at Martinsville.
Wait, you're calling for more wrecks after we've had 2 straight races of no cautions?
Yeah. I mean, like, come on, like, we got to put a show on sometimes. So, but no, the green flag racing's awesome, and this league really prides themselves on that. But Martinsville, sometimes things get a little ugly, but we'll see.
Any shout would you like to give tonight?
Just shout out to the league. Shout out to Todd Gill. He puts a lot of work into the league and manages it well. TJ, just glad that they're all here and that they can put on a league for us to race. So, yeah. And shout out to the broadcast team. You guys do an awesome job every week. I'm always watching the broadcast back, and you guys call a great race. So thank you for that.
Congratulations once again, Thomas, on the victory tonight. It's your first of the year.
Yep. Hopefully more follow. But thanks, guys.
Thomas Wolf gets the job done tonight. Like to thank him, Greg Ratliff, and TJ Rogers for taking the time to speak with us for post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. Intern Brian, you heard it there. It's been more so the matter of getting into the seat when it comes to Wolf's case for qualifying. But tonight, able to get into the seat, and it gets him the win.
Yeah, that's interesting. I really thought, for the most part, that it was all mind games. That he was just like, I'm just going to challenge myself by starting in the back. Like, I thought that was a purposeful decision, but he just clarified that it's not. So he's been watching these broadcasts, and he's probably been laughing every time I've said something about that. But yeah, great job to him. Glad he had the ability to qualify. Hopefully, he gets the ability to qualify more often, because I think if he does, he's going to be one that's going to be tough to beat for sure. But definitely loved every bit of this race to see how the strategies kind of played out. I mean, that's why I love this series. I mean, it's definitely an analyst's dream. I'd say almost heaven for an analyst.
But in turn, a busy week coming up here when it comes to Grid Vision. Touched upon this at the top of the broadcast. Let's touch upon it one more time here, because keep in mind, we are back in action tomorrow night as it's Grid Vision Super Speedways from Talladega. How will drivers recover after the very hectic finish last time? We'll find out 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time here on Grid Vision. Then it's champion action from Japan from Twin Ring Motegi on the Tuesday. On Thursday, it's SSRL Truck Series competition from Kansas. And Martinsville Speedway has NIS Open. All those start times Tuesday through Friday, 9 p.m. And then on Sunday, it's a double dose of paperclip. It's the Global Racing League on the Sunday at 12:30 p.m. and at 9 p.m. It's the chase for the Kaiwo Glass Cup, where we'll see if Thomas Wolf's dreams come true. And we have a caution and some crashes. On that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action of RGR and the Kaiwo Glass Cup. For my co-announcer tonight, Brian Britt, for our producer, Austin Darbyshire, I'm Justin Britt saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching Grid Vision for coverage of RGR and its racing league from iRacing's virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway.